Hey, everybody. It's another episode of All Out War. And on this episode of the podcast, we have something really cool that we're going to talk about.
Many of them were even around when I was president. You know, gosh, these people accused me of murder. You wouldn't believe what they did. And now they're right at the center of the campaign. Just attack.
That's right. That's former President Bill Clinton. And he said many of them call him a murderer.
It's because he is.
It's because he is. So we're going to have a whole episode about the Clinton body count. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty interesting. We got a lot of stuff there to unpack and some names to talk about and some interesting just facts around the mysterious deaths. And yeah, it's just very bizarre. And so we're going to check that out. But I think we have an update on our baby, don't we?
Yes. So this week, we are 8 weeks pregnant.
I'm giving you some background music.
Our baby is as big as a raspberry.
All right.
It says
a raspberry.
As a raspberry. It says, at 8 weeks pregnant, you're wrapping up your second month of pregnancy. And while you may not be showing yet, being pregnant is probably finally starting to feel real to you. Like most women, you may have had your first prenatal appointment right now. And at this visit, an ultrasound may be performed to determine how far along you are. You may even see and hear a baby's heartbeat. How cool is that? That's what it says. So the baby's as big as a raspberry, weighs about 0.04 ounces, and measures about 0.63 inches.
And it definitely has a detectable heartbeat.
It absolutely does. The baby's grown about 1 millimeter each day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
our little raspberry's growing.
Yep. And so you have pregnancy symptoms already.
All right.
Yeah. I am not going to go into those.
Puking, leg cramps, and weird stuff.
Yep. Heightened sense of smell, cramps, constipation.
Back pains start happening.
Saggy breasts.
They're going to start filling up with milk in a little bit. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
They're going to get very big.
Yeah. So it's still a baby.
All right.
Still a baby.
So that's the update on our little baby. So we have a great episode. So we want to encourage you to sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
What's up, Warriors? How's everybody doing? It is another episode of All Out War. We're so glad that you decided to click play and join us on this wonderful audible experience called All Out War. What's up, Rosie?
Hey, man. What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
I mean, I could complain, but it would be silly to.
Yeah, right?
I always like saying that. Well, I could complain, but I shouldn't because very not first world problems.
That's right.
At the minimum.
At the minimum.
At the maximum, rather.
Yeah.
There. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I had a friend that used to say to me, I could complain, but nobody's listening anyway, so it don't matter. Like, you just complain about not complaining.
Yeah, it's true. I don't like complaining.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, what do you know?
Oh, hey, did you know that Oprah got sued by, quote unquote, I'm going to say this, Big Beef?
Big Beef.
Yeah. So she was, she went through this thing. There's this whole litigation of, it's called food libel. So libel's, spreading false information.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1998, Oprah was sued by, under a Texas version of food libel law, for comments her and one of her guests made about beef and regarding mad cow disease.
Oh.
So these Texas beef people were like, they started some beef with Oprah, and they sued her. So she got into she was sued by cattle ranchers.
That's who you want to sue, man.
Yeah, she's got a lot of money.
Yeah, you get that money and you're getting the right stuff.
Yeah. So
did they win? Do you know?
Oprah won.
Oprah won. Of course, Oprah won.
Yep.
Can't beat the queen of media.
Nope.
Wow.
So I don't know. That wasn't.
I'm
in your fun one.
I'm in your corner, beef.
Yeah,
I love beef.
I like beef too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a staple of the keto diet.
Yep, it absolutely is.
Yeah. So I wanted to, before we jump into our episode today, I wanted to just talk about something that we've been experiencing. It's just really weird, and this is like, I don't know where you listening sit on and in your understanding of everything on this, but there's been a whole lot of stuff happening through primarily YouTube, but Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
All the big like tech, social media. But it's not even social media. It's like, because YouTube's not social media.
Yeah, but they
It's
still
like
call it a
platform. Yeah. But all those like big tech, silicon, lefty,
the technocrats.
the technocrats.
That's what I
That's
call
a great
them.
word. Yeah.
So they have been suppressing, and they have been really and kicking off platforms people for a couple months now.
Well, it started like a year ago. It had to have been years ago. I mean, Milo was years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's been happening since Trump's been elected.
Yeah,
We'll just say that.
But it came into the limelight really powerfully, and just more recently, like when Alex Jones was deplatformed and off of everything, and
Yeah.
and it's gotten so bad for even some people like PayPal, and even like banks are like, we're not going to allow you to have an account with us because we know that your views on your conservative views or whatever, like you're pro-life or you're pro-hetero, marriage or whatever.
Yeah.
And which is just bizarre to me. But so they're labeled and they're suppressed. Well, we are not a tremendously political podcast, although our our tagline is like it's a podcast about culture, theology, and politics. For this is episode number 44. Yeah, 44.
44.
But we've only had like 3 episodes where we primarily talked about politics for a majority, and not even, and some of it wasn't even about American politics, which was really funny because it really started when we had Jack Buckby on. And if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to it. It's really great. And he is a big proponent of Brexit, and he was a conservative. He's worked on Trump's campaign and some other stuff or something. He was doing stuff here in the United States, doing stuff. But anyways, we had him on, and then we had Cabot Phillips on, who works for Campus Reform, and he's also on Fox News all the time. And then after that, we had John Miller on, who's the White House correspondent for Blaze. And what happened is our listening numbers dropped about 75%, and from what they were averaging before that. And so I was trying to figure out why that was happening, because I monitor all of our stats and stuff, and I try to make sure that we're on the right platforms, and everybody can have access to us through Google and everything else. And I was just noticing a big drop off, and so this most recent one that we did, this last episode we did, which wasn't even a political one, it was on secret societies, which that might have something to do with it too. I don't know, but it wasn't real. We didn't like get into the weeds with it. No. It was just very general.
Yeah, super general.
But we averaged 25% of what we had been for the past, almost year of what our listenership was, and so we were trying to figure out what's going on, and the only conclusion we can come to is that we have been suppressed in some way, and I think I put an Instagram.
Well, I tweeted that.
I did a poll on Instagram.
Okay.
I do these things. If you follow us on Instagram, go find us, All Out War Podcast on Instagram. Follow us, because I do every once in a while. I'll do what I do is a 5-question Friday, and I have 5 questions. It's a poll, and stupid questions, but some of the questions have to do with our actual podcast, because I'm trying to gather some information to just kind of help out. And one of the questions I asked a few weeks ago, because I was noticing this drop off, was, do you want us to have guests on our podcast, or do you want it to just be Rosie and Turner, and or Tucker, as our latest review said? By the way, thank you so much, Yeshua for you, who gave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. But I asked that, and 60% of the people versus 40% of people. 60% said they don't mind if we have guests. 40% said no, they just like you and I, which you guys are near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
But when we do have guests, we try and do guests that are interesting to you and I. So if you like us and you've been kind of growing with us through this podcast, then you're probably going to find our guests interesting as well because we're interested by them. We've either read a book by them or they've influenced us through whatever they do in some capacity. And so that's why. So I knew we weren't losing listeners because of having guests.
Right.
And so that only led us to the conclusion that we are probably being suppressed in some way. Like there's something happening in the algorithms through Apple, through something.
Yeah, and we even took like preventative measures from the start. And it was funny because
Right.
I had said this like at the very beginning. Like we have an explicit tag on this. Why? Because I don't think we've ever cursed.
Well,
I mean,
we have curse occasionally, but
yeah.
it's not like we're we're believers. We're
yeah,
Christians.
yeah. I was gonna say I don't think we've never dropped the F-bomb. You and I've never dropped the S. Like we've never dropped.
There's still time.
But anyway, we put the explicit tag just to get it out of the way and just say, if. Just to cover our backs so that people won't,
Yeah.
You can't pull something like, oh, this is an explicit tag and you guys are talking about, insert issue. This isn't for kids, or something like that. I don't even know.
Well,
we don't even
I
do
did
anything.
it. I'll tell you why I did it.
Yeah, you go ahead and say that.
Here's what I was worried about: trolls. And there's this tendency that if you're a Christian podcast, there's people that are anti-Christian, or they wouldn't even necessarily say they're anti-Christian, but they're acting in an anti-Christian way. They just don't want the message that's coming forth from the conservative Christian views on all sorts of different topics to be out there in the public because it's dangerous to their worldview. And so what they'll do is they'll find a Christian podcast like ours, and they'll go and they'll report it as they'll report it in some way as, some, hate speech or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you put explicit on there, and this is the cat's out of the bag, I'll put explicit on there. They're not going to be looking for a Christian podcast with explicit content rating.
It's to kind of hide us.
Yeah, it was literally to hide us. That's why I did it.
And so that we couldn't be reported because we could say,
Hey,
we're already explicit.
Yeah. You've got your warning on the explicit.
Yeah. But so I was going to say the thing I said from the start was, if we get suppressed, it would be awesome.
Yeah, you did say that.
Because it means we're striking a nerve that we got somehow swept up into something that they think we're a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's kind of, I mean, I've been patting myself on the back. I'm like, heck yeah. It's awesome.
It's encouraging to know that maybe in some capacity we were, and I don't know if we were just lumped in.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you go to like iTunes and it says podcasts similar to ours, like if you search All Out War, you'll have Ben Shapiro.
Which, by the way, I was going to say, every now and then, even though I don't use Apple, any products, I'll look on iTunes to find like people review them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we are being removed from the search results.
Oh, really?
So we used to be very prominent, like there's not many things called All Out War. And we were up there, they would show, and if you search under podcasts, it would have, here's all the latest episodes from all these different things, anything that had All Out War somehow related to it in the topic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we used to be up there because there's like not many things titled All Out War. And now there's, as an example, if there's 20 episodes that it prominently displays when you search for it, we used to have, 8 out of 20, because we were up there.
Yeah.
Because there's not many people named us. It's not anything, super exclusive or popular. It's just that.
It's just a unique
and
name.
Now there's like one, maybe.
You know what I find ironic is whenever I search All Out War, what does come up podcast, it's a podcast that goes through the Walking Dead. They actually had a Walking Dead episode called All Out War, which is funny because Walking Dead is special to us because of how it kind of all came about. But so when you go to iTunes, just so it says you also might like it's
go back
similar to or whatever. We have Sheologians, which is a podcast that is Dr. James White's daughter, And it's a great podcast. If you're not listening to that, you should check it out. All our Reformed friends love it, you know. The Bible Project, which is Tim and John, those guys that do the Bible Project, and they're really awesome. I love that podcast too. I listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
And then Ben Shapiro's show. So those are what they're saying we're similar to. Obviously, we're very different in different ways, and we're nowhere near as popular as any of those three podcasts. They're all they eclipse us.
Yeah.
But they're putting us in that category, and definitely they're going to be target.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's a target. If they could shut Ben Shapiro up, they would. Like, if they could, they would. I think. You're shaking your head. I don't know what you're thinking, but
Go ahead.
I don't know. I guess my point is this: is that we believe something's happening. You don't lose 75% of your listeners, you know.
And just, I mean, the guests that we had, like,
right.
so, you know, just to let you guys in and not to blow any of these guys up, but between the three of them, they have like 100,000 followers on Twitter. So if they tweet something, just doing the basic math that we were doing is like, oh, okay, if 1% of these guys, blah, 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 blah. And like, just to have that extra, because we don't advertise anything, to get the extra advertising of reaching, and that's just the base followers, not people that retweet theirs or anything like that. 100,000 people, just the base numbers of not even hitting, we're not even hitting what we normally hit. So we're 75, even with these huge like platforms and people giving us extra.
I mean, we got a shout out from Cabot and from John
and Jack.
And so these are three guys that are literally internationally known. Like, they're internationally known. And they're on Twitter. They shouted out that they were on our podcast, that they, you know, give it a listen even. They said, check it out.
And
put the link on there.
They put the link, they shared to the episode, and we didn't, and those episodes hit significantly lower than ones from 9 months ago.
They're hitting 75% lower than what we normally do. So something's happening. Links aren't working, tweets aren't being seen, something's happening. And we did get an immediate suppression from our podcast title on Twitter when you tried to start our initial Twitter account, which was All Out War at twitter.com.
It got immediately suspended. Didn't even tweet anything. Didn't get to fill in. So that's why it's all AOW cast. Made a second one. But
so on Twitter we're AOW cast because of that very reason. We couldn't get All Out War because they banned the page before we could even tweet anything. And I don't know if it's the war or
it's not.
You know, I don't know if it's the wording. I mean, I'm trying to be generous, but
we shouldn't be.
So here's what we have to do. We got to do this the old-fashioned way. You're going to have to tell your friends about us. We want this thing to be out there. We do this out of, I mean, look, we don't sell advertising. We don't make a dime. In fact, we've invested personal funds into this thing, you know.
We just,
a lot.
For a hobby.
For a hobby. But we do believe in what we're doing, and we think it's, like, if we didn't believe in what we're doing, we wouldn't do it. It would just be like, we have better things to do. I have kids, you have a life, you know, we could go shoot guns and have more fun, you know. But so what we're asking is that, and I feel stupid doing this, and I've done this before in the past, but what we're asking is just, this is the listeners that are listening right now. If you could just share us with a friend, like grab their phone, teach them how to subscribe to the podcast. We're only going to grow through word of mouth. Social media isn't helping us. You know, we have like,
and I was going to say, recheck your phone or anything, because I know people that ask me, like, came to me personally in my life and was like, I was subscribed to you guys, can you, and now you're not there. So I know it's happening.
So it got unsubscribed.
And I've had people come up to me and say, I started listening to it, right? You know, so people so we know, so it's, you know, we've been going for months looking at trends and stuff like that. And we're just letting you guys know.
We're just
it's real.
We're just trying to grow. We want to beat the man. Let's stick it to the man. Right? So tell your friends. That's all. I mean, I don't think we need to beat this up anymore, but that's real to us. It's discouraging when you spend a year really investing in and trying to do something quality. And then all of a sudden overnight 75% of the people that listen to. It's not like we said something or did something.
No.
It was more of the same. I mean, if you've listened to 5 of our podcasts, you know what we're about.
Yeah, we never hide anything.
Right. So, all right, man. So now it's been 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight? Or
Yeah.
do we want to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, well, it can't get much worse.
Right.
So, yeah, I brought this topic up because there was... Actually, I had said this... I've been talking about this for
Yeah.
years. But,
From the beginning.
but now has been a really good time because there's been a lot of interesting stuff that's happened in the news. Very sad stuff. In regards to people dying. People being killed. In interesting ways. And I just... Go ahead. Opening up a Coke Zero.
Yeah. I'll have to tweet out that picture and put on Instagram that picture that you took of the fridge. We stocked the fridge of Coke Zero.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about... I wanted to bring up one other thing. And some other stuff. We'll talk about these cases, these people that, briefly... that have died recently. And so the topic is mainly the Clinton body count.
All that to say.
The Clinton body count.
Right.
And that's a term that's used because there are a lot of people
Yeah.
who have gone against Bill and Hillary Clinton, the machine, the Clinton machine, and have have found themselves being suicided. Like that whole term suicided.
Dude, I heard a new one.
What's that?
Some guy said something to me the other day, and he was like, Arkansided.
Arkansas. Yeah, I saw that too.
And I was like, what?
Arkansas.
I was like, what is that? And he goes, you never heard the term Arkansided? And I was like, no. He goes, if you live in Arkansas and you come against the Clintons, you're going to
you get killed.
You're going to get knocked off. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
That's a good, yeah. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about going through some of the more notable cases of the people. So I'll just say it from the start because I don't care.
yeah.
My stuff. I absolutely believe that Hillary Clinton and or Bill Clinton have paid to have people killed, have murdered. So that's my view from the start.
Well, Rosie, I just want to say this to you while you're in front of me. I loved you. You were a good friend, and
Yeah.
it was nice to know you.
And just so this is on record, as
The date, it is June 9th,
June 9th,
8:37 p.m.
as of right now, and nowhere in the future, if I end up dead from a suicide, I did not commit suicide.
And I'm the same thing. I have the same.
If either of us end up dead, it is not suicide.
I am a very happy man.
Yes.
I have a lovely family and a beautiful wife who loves me. I have no reason. I have a great church and a good job. I am not.
Same.
I have no need to off myself.
Right.
In fact, it would be the dumbest thing I could do in my life.
Absolutely. And the reason that we say that is because most of the victims of the Clintons have gone on record and said stuff like this. Like, I am not going to kill myself. I am not suicidal. There's radio broadcasts, people, all these whistleblowers
Yeah.
that we're going to go through. Tons of them have been on record and said, look, there's people coming after. And this happens in wider conspiracy also that you hear all the time. There's all kinds of crazy stories of people saying, they're coming after me. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not suicidal. I love everyone. Like,
Well, what was
we
that?
just said.
What was that recent one where the guy jumped off the bridge?
Isaac Cap. Oh, I got into some stuff.
I mean, he was. There's some debate that he might have been mentally unstable. But
Yeah.
But this plays into it because what they do is they make your life a living hell. Things happen and surrounding there's pressures and all these things that you didn't have at one point.
Yeah.
And so then they can say, oh, but that was what caused him to, caused him or her to.
Yeah. So I was going to say, that's kind of a good lead off. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
But Isaac Cappy is very interesting. I wish I had it in front of me. That one of the people who was just killed was a former Arkansas senator. Her name was Linda Collins Smith. She was shot to death.
This was like this week, right?
This was this week. And this is what's so crazy is that we've had 2 state senators, Republicans, in the last week shot. Like serial killer execution style shot. They were shot.
Yeah.
And nobody's been talking. I mean, fringe,
I saw the one on an Instagram account that I follow that is like it's called Fake News CNN.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, so no one's, maybe these are big enough people that people will start to talk about it.
yeah.
But I did read that, and this is just pure speculation, that Senator Collins, something like Isaac Caffey, one of the last places that he stayed was in a hotel associated with her, like she owned or
Oh wow.
something. So that was interesting. But basically, so here's a former Arkansas senator. She was shot to death, and she was allegedly working with a DHS insider to expose a missing $27 million from the Department of Homeland Security and Child Protective Services.
Ooh, child protective.
And then, so it says these funds allegedly were filtered back to the Clinton Foundation through a series of shell companies.
Oh my goodness. And I'm telling you, dude, whenever you see child protective services and there's
That's a whole other thing. We could
dude,
talk
there's something with pedo
about. Yeah.
this whole pedophile thing. There's something evil there, and it's like I feel like some stuff's like right on the verge of being exposed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, also notable, that doesn't really have to do with it, but maybe since Pizzagate is, to kind of go back into it, and since you brought it up, there's another notable guy that I'm just going to go ahead and say. There's this guy he used to write for Ars Technica, which is like a technology site.
Yeah, it's just
He was super anti-Trump. And so he was this writer and totally one of these media shill people that was just suppressing, oh, Pizzagate's fake, Pizzagate, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You guys are chasing tails. He just got arrested for attempted pedophilia and trying to, he admitted to molesting kids. And, so there is a real undercurrent of evil.
the judge wouldn't even give him bond.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't get bail.
Yeah. And again, so it's one of these things where these people that, keep shouting, oh no, there's no conspiracy. You guys are crazy. You guys are, you're weird schizophrenic people
Right.
connecting dots where there's nothing there. And it's those people that shout the loudest seem to be connected.
Right. Dude, I just realized something.
Go ahead.
Remember the name of her campaign, Clinton's campaign? Mm-mm. I'm with her.
I'm with her.
They probably did that so that you could identify so you wouldn't get offed.
Maybe.
I'm with her. Don't kill me.
Yeah.
I'm with her.
Yeah.
Right.
But some other news, there was, so that was this one, Susan Collins Smith. Apparently she was doing, she was in Arkansas, and the Clintons, that's where they're from. He was a governor. Clinton was, that's where they started all this racket.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of these people,
Whitewater, the whole
Whitewater, with that we'll get into. We'll touch
I know.
on people that were killed over that. Well, a lot of stuff. They still hold a lot of weight down there. The Clinton Foundation. So even to kind of tie it into the larger secret society thing, just kind of loosely, you can take this for what it's worth, that there are people that operate at a different level than normal people, than us. Just the fact that she wasn't, to go on just a real short tangent, the fact that she committed multiple crimes under the Espionage Act, that she should be tried, she should be hung, because that's what we do for traitors.
Yeah.
Like
Death
you
penalty.
commit the death penalty.
Yeah.
That's still a thing. And with all these other things. So that's a whole other topic. But the whole fact that, now we know, corrupt Comey and the FBI and all that kind of stuff. It makes sense as why she's never charged. Also because she's untouchable. She's connected to all these ways.
Right.
And I did want to touch on.
But they know, man, if she goes down, well,
Yeah, a lot of-
she's not. If she gets taken down,
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. So there's another guy in Oklahoma, a former state senator, was found guilty again, shot outside his house.
Was this another recent one?
Yeah, this was like 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was shot outside his house. Him, I'm not necessarily throwing anything in with the Clintons. I don't have any more
We don't know if
information about that.
He's dead. That's enough. that
But
we have.
I'm just saying there's been a lot of mysterious deaths over the last. There is a NYPD chief,
I saw that too.
literally a couple days before retiring. He had already submitted his stuff, supposedly shot himself in the head in his car.
Yeah, in Vermont or something.
New York.
But
NYPD.
there's another guy that went.
There's another guy. Yeah.
So I want to say this though, since we're talking about this, this is in no way, we're not in any way making light of people that struggle with depression or self harm or thoughts of self harm, and I just want to disclaim right now, if that's you, you're listening, you've had those thoughts, get help, tell somebody.
It's not a weakness.
It's not a weakness. In fact, there is help for you. And just we want you to tell you, I mean, I don't want to make a big grandstand, but you're loved and you're cared about.
And anything that you're going through, anything that you've gone through, that you will go through, even the most horrific stuff, I think we both know without going into detail. We know people that have gone through unimaginable evil, like unimaginable.
Yeah.
And
pain.
There's help.
Yeah.
And so, that's good.
So I just want to say that we're not making light of this. We might, we're by nature, you and I, when we get together, we just laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a serious subject, but so there's going to be some of these are so ridiculous that they're claiming to be suicide that it's,
so we're not
we might laugh a little, but
we're laughing at the idea
insanity of it.
Someone shooting themselves in the head 3 times, and then that was
3
suicide,
times,
something like that. So anyways, so there's been, again, this NYPD, if you want to go conspiratorial about it, remember Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin?
Yeah.
Connected to the Clintons.
Yeah. She was her social media campaign.
Something like that. But Anthony Weiner was
her husband,
who was, what was he? He was like a state rep or a representative from New York. But he was the one that got caught sending nude photos to an underage 15-year-old girl.
Sexting, yeah.
Yeah, so they had his laptop, but guess who had that? Which they claim that the laptop had like a file marked insurance policy, all kinds of crazy stuff. So now you're starting to see it. NYPD guy kills himself.
Oh, he had it? That guy
he probably oversaw it.
Oh, man.
So there's stuff like that. I want to say there's another notable thing that I think we should just briefly talk about.
Yeah.
That I don't think this is in the same vein of the Clinton body count. And but there is a billionaire who just died again recently, within this week or so. Yeah. His name was Herb Sandler. Herb. However they pronounce it.
Wait, did you say herb?
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
No, even better, herb.
Yes. I've been smoking the green, the ganja herb. Smoke the green ganja herb. The Lord put it in the earth.
We missed it in the last episode, by the way.
We gotta get it in a couple more times.
Dude, we also missed is the baby. But we'll do it. Yeah, we'll get.
I didn't want to.
They already heard it.
Yeah, you already heard it. Anyway, so this guy, Herb Sandler, was a billionaire. He was 88 or something like that. So 87. So he lived a good life, apparently. 87. I hope to make it to 87.
A billionaire is a good life.
Yeah. But he was connected. If you remember back in the episodes on the Pizzagate stuff, a lot of these Podesta emails specifically saying, talking about some really gross, like the codes where it's like, we talked about that one where it said, hey, we found this map in a handkerchief.
Yeah.
It seems pizza related.
Right.
Do you know who was CC'd on that email? This dude.
Homie. Billionaire dead guy.
Herb Sandler.
Herb.
So that's another noticeable death.
Yeah.
Linda Collins. Yes, I went over that. So I did, to step back a minute from the Clintons before we get into it.
Okay.
I do want to bring this up because you hadn't heard of this.
Okay.
And I was kind of blown away. And apparently, not a lot of people have heard about this.
Okay.
So there was a lot of stuff back in 2008 when Obama was running for presidency. They called them birthers. Anyone that questioned
Oh, yeah.
where Obama was born.
I did know that. His birth certificate. So,
Yeah. So his birth certificate, he wouldn't show it. You know, it was all this weird stuff. And then it finally comes out. And that's a whole other topic if you want to get into the discrepancies that people broke down the birth certificate.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of Photoshop, not elements.
Proof.
What do they call them? The stuff left over.
Yeah.
All
Fragments or whatever.
Whatever it was left over. But very interestingly, there was a woman. She was the Hawaiian health director, who was the one that actually verified the authenticity of Obama's birth certificate. Died in a plane crash right after, right during all of that stuff. And if I remember correctly, she was the only one that died in this plane crash, which is very interesting. Obama also happened to be in Hawaii right during when that happened. And also this woman was a part of a Muslim spin-off group, cult, whatever you want to call it, with Obama's mother. So she was very close to the Obamas.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there is some weird stuff surrounding Democrats and
elite,
you
know,
in right here in America, in American politics. And I think most people, well, I always say these stuff like, how doesn't everyone know about it? Doesn't everyone know that like Obama's birth certificate is obviously fake? Michelle Obama is a dude. The woman that okayed the Obama's birth certificate was killed in a plane crash with 8 people, and she was the only one that died. And it's like, doesn't everyone know?
So she couldn't be questioned. She couldn't be put on the stand to testify.
Yeah. And so she was one that oversaw all this, the release of his birth certificate, which was very crappily photoshopped.
It was poorly handled.
It was poorly handled.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's get back to the title, the stars of the show.
The Clinton body count.
Clinton body count.
Yeah.
So did you have that full list of all the people?
I can bring it up
right.
in a second.
Because I think...
Did you...
Just read through the name.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me pull that up real quick. There were some names. Was that on...
Rational.
Yeah, it was Rational Wiki.
Yeah.
So they have supposed victims. And
so this is an anti thing, but it just has a good list.
Yeah, it's actually a liberal page, right?
Yeah.
Yes. They listen to.
Just start reading through the names.
Okay. Donald Joe Adams, John Ashe, William S. Barkley, Robert Bates, Gandhi Bowe, Sabrina Bittencourt, Ron Brown, James Bunch, Anthony Bourdain, Eric Butera Casarias, Danny Castellaro, William Colby, Susan Coleman, Gregory Collins, Keith Conley, John Crawford, William Dessenberger, Steve Dixon, David Dry, there's 4 more, Daniel Ducto, Klaus Ebertwein, Dennis Eisman, Emory Evans, Kathy Ferguson, Vince Foster. That is one list. That is one column. 1, 2, 3, 4 columns.
Yeah, so
in equal length.
So they say that there's about 61 people. There's
way more than that on this list.
Yeah,
though.
but that's typically what you hear is there's about 61 plus or minus, you know. But it's interesting. Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people. So there's some very weird stuff right before that.
Right. He
was tweeting about, you know, I've been on the receiving end of Hillary's operatives. It's not fun, you know, stuff like that. So how about I'll just say this? Here's a really quick. There's not a lot of stuff about these guys. I mean, there is, but the following Clinton bodyguards, Secret Service members, bodyguards, these kind of people. This is a list of the close bodyguards. Major William Barkley Jr., Captain Scott Reynolds, Sergeant Brian Hanley, Sergeant Tim Sable, Major General William Robertson, Colonel William Densberger, Colonel Robert Kelly, Specialist Gary Rhodes, Steve Willis, Robert Williams, Conway LeBlue, Todd McKeon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just these people that, outwardly try to expose them and stuff. They're bodyguards.
Yeah.
People, if you look through those names, some of them are probably Secret Service, some of them are military.
And they didn't all die by
military.
by suicide. Like 3 of those
Car
guys
accidents.
was a helicopter crash
Yeah.
in Quantico. But they had just escorted Bill Clinton to Air Force One from what is the helicopter president? What is it?
Marine One.
Yeah, they went from Marine One to Air Force One or whatever, and so something was seen or something happened. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they were coming back in the plane.
But yeah,
the
so
helicopter.
these kind of people all even.
But wait a second. I just want to say something about the helicopter because
yeah.
I have a really good friend that worked in the Marine Corps. That was his duty. Was the helicopter Marine One. That helicopter will not break down.
Yeah, they take it apart after every flight.
Yes,
rebuild it from the ground up.
They disassemble the engine after every flight and rebuild the engine, and the parts that could wear, that show any wear, are replaced immediately.
Yeah,
that helicopter is the best running helicopter in the world,
and that has the top pilots
and best mechanics.
Yeah,
like you don't get put on that detail if you're an okay mechanic.
Yeah.
You got to be a sharp guy. My buddy that was over part of that he's a really great guy, a smart guy. He has a presidential award.
Yeah.
From Bill Clinton actually, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so that's for a helicopter to crash.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Marine One.
Yeah. Marine One. And I don't even remember, it happened in 95. I don't even remember hearing too much about it.
No.
And it happened right by where I grew up, where I was living. It was literally, actually, I was living about 4 miles from where it wrecked. And I don't remember hearing much about it. And when it wrecked, the fire department couldn't get in there. It wrecked over top of Quantico Base, which is a really big Marine Corps base.
Yeah.
That's where they do the officer candidate school for the Marine Corps. So it's a big, and they have it's a big base here on the East Coast. And the fire department couldn't get in there. The fire chief, one of the firefighters took video. They confiscated the camera. There was some things there, and basically there was reports that it was just a really heavily armed, lots of Marines with weapons, keeping them from doing what they were there to do, which is to rescue and help and put the
investigate.
fire out. Yeah, put the fire out. So
so how about we move to actually it's not the latest one, but it's one of the biggest ones that was in the news. And
do you want me to play that clip I
yes,
have?
So we're going to talk about Seth Rich. And so this is, if you don't know who Seth Rich, how about I'll just set it up.
Yeah, set it up.
So at the beginning in 2016, if you recall, if you paid attention to any of the politics going on during the presidential campaigns, right before, I think it was in November when they were finally released by WikiLeaks, there was a whole bunch of emails, which they claimed were hacked by Russians, hacked the DNC, which is the Democrat National Convention, the party, their emails. They said that they got all these internal emails and these documents and whatever. And so WikiLeaks is basically like a whistleblower publishing thing run by Julian Assange. Basically, they take documents that they're received that can't be easily disseminated, right? Like people want to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the DNC emails were hacked. They say that they were hacked. They were emails from the inside were published through WikiLeaks. And coincidentally, there is this young DNC staffer who was murdered in D.C. But I'll claim. Anyway, so that's setting up. So
Seth Rich is connected to WikiLeaks in some weird way.
Yeah.
So
so
this is an interview with Julian Assange and a Dutch public broadcasting studio in 2016, shortly after his death.
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
What are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
So basically, Julian Assange is saying he admitted without admitting that he was a source.
Yeah.
And that they're concerned that other sources that bring forth the truth or information that's harmful or damaging to certain people that are elites in the government, in the White House and other places, they're at risk if they speak out.
Yeah. So
and what happened to him? What happened to Julian Assange? He had to go on the run, right?
Well, no, he was already in captivity at this point.
No, he was doing an interview there in 2016. That was before all that, wasn't it?
No.
So how did he do that? Get out and do that interview if he was in captivity?
That was in Skype or something like that.
No, he was in studio. I got pulled that off of YouTube. He was actually in the studio with the guy.
His what?
In Dutch. So I think he went in after that. But anyways, and he's now he's here, and I'm hearing reports too of him that he's very ill, like from a tooth infection or something.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so that's setting up who Seth Rich is and why the importance of what he did and why you might have heard the name before and everything like that. So I'll just go read through. This is what happened with the shooting. Basically, he was leaving a bar in a very good area of Washington, D.C., and it was just a sports bar. He was, a regular customer. They all knew him there. So he's walking back to his house, and basically the official story is that he got mugged and he was shot when he resisted or tried to put up a fight. And so you're like, okay, it just happens to be some random mugging. He just happened to be, maybe they saw that he was, some upper middle class, wealthy guy. Maybe he had a nice expensive watch on or something like that, that these guys that were mugging him thought that they could get some money or a watch or, a phone or anything like that. So one of the interesting things is nothing was stolen from him. He was shot twice in the back. He actually did survive the initial shooting, but he was like in critical condition. And they said he died at the hospital. But again, he happened to be shot in a part that had just had construction started. So it was just out of the view of any cameras even. So they couldn't see him, the camera. There's a construction stuff on the sidewalk. He walks into it and it's conveniently placed
right
between all the cameras. They never got a good view of the people that it was two people,
no suspects
that shot him. So he was shot leaving in, again, a nice part of Bloomingdale neighborhood of DC, not a shady place, nice, part of DC. He was mugged, but they didn't steal anything. He was shot twice in a place that was conveniently between cameras. They couldn't see who happened. And so that's why it's important about Assange is, does it happen to be that he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, mugged by some people who didn't actually steal anything from him? Or, was he taken out because they knew that he had
Well,
taking internal documents and giving them the WikiLeaks.
Yeah. And there was I heard something, I don't know who was telling me this. It may have been you. Something about, it was in relation to the Bernie Sanders, how they had basically, there was proof that they had blackballed Bernie Sanders so that she could get the nomination.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like sympathetic to Bernie Sanders because he kind of believed in his.
Well, yeah, he saw so he wasn't like some crazy right-wing guy.
No.
He worked for the DNC.
Yeah.
He saw these emails that from the top, they had rigged everything against Bernie. So basically, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz actually was the head of the DNC. She lost her job over these emails that were leaked because it said, basically, don't worry about Bernie. He's not going to get a chance. Even if he gets the votes, we're not going to give him the nomination. So that's where this stuff. So the DNC, he proved that there was collusion within the own party,
Right.
to oust Bernie Sanders and to again secure Hillary Clinton's nomination.
And there was a claim that John Podesta, who worked on the campaign for Hillary Clinton at that time, that he this is a claim. It's not that there was an email that he wrote that he says definitely for making an example of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have any real basis for it. This gives credibility to the theory that Rich was assassinated.
Yeah.
So Podesta had an email where he supposedly, now, this is so crazy because they're going to say, no, that's why it's a conspiracy. We don't have proof. We don't have proof because she scrubbed all of she scrubbed all of her computers and nobody can get to the proof, which is a whole nother side of this thing. Like, it's like when you start to add up the things and you put them in the same, and you realize you're like, you are either an incredibly evil person or incredibly lucky.
Right.
Like, and you can't be both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
how about let's talk about Vince Foster.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was again this is probably the biggest things because it happened in 1993.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, right? When whatchamacallit, right? When Clinton, so it would have happened. He would have been part of Clinton's presidency campaign. Right during that time, he was in, he was upper level. So I'll just go ahead and read this. But this is like the case that everyone points back to because it's so outrageous that it's even the most ardent Hillary supporters, if they actually read or hear about the facts of this case of Vince Foster, you got to go, yeah, that just
it's not adding up.
There's no way.
Yeah.
So he was a former White House counsel. There you go, colleague of Hillary Clinton at Little Rock's Rose Law Firm. He died of a gunshot wound to the head. It was ruled a suicide. And so he was the highest ranking of the executive branch. He was the highest ranking executive branch official since JFK to meet an untimely death while still in office. So he was actually, again, White House counsel. He was in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Like
working, see her every day. Talk to her regularly.
The Clintons, both of them.
Yeah.
And
so this would have been Bill Clinton's presidency, or
Hillary. Thank God will never be president.
That's right.
She'll never have a cabinet. But yeah. So he died of a suspected gunshot. It was in the back of the head. So he shot himself in the back of the head, and then without. It's really weird. You can drive past it because it was in D.C. It was right off a hiking trail, right along the Potomac.
Yep.
So they said that he shot himself in the back of the head and then walked about 150 yards, I believe.
Right.
And actually died without getting mud on the bottoms of his shoes. So they found him, like the shell casing, boom, shot. He shoots himself.
Yeah.
150 yards away, where his body ends up.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, that was a very long rifle.
It was a very long, yeah, but I remember reading it was like a 22.
Yeah.
So he shot himself in the head, carries his already dead body 150 yards without getting, so he must have taken off his shoes.
Yeah.
taken off his shoes, walked,
Yeah, and
died, put his shoes back on,
then let the wound take effect.
and then die.
So, and there's weirdness surrounding like the investigation to it, like because it says that Hillary Clinton or Clinton, I say Hillary because she's the most prominent Clinton that we have right now. Bill's he's kind of like hidden himself out wherever, but it says that so it it just says that the FBI should have led the investigation, but it was relegated to the U.S. Park Service because his quote unquote suicide was on a park, and the Department of the Interior. The FBI was without leadership at the time, Clinton having fired the FBI director less than 24 hours before Foster's body was discovered. So how convenient is that? Oh, the FBI guy is going to get let go, fired, and then he's going to die on a park, and so we're going to let the park authority, like when I have a high profile court, like a crime case, I don't think of calling a park ranger.
Mm-hmm. They actually do have a lot of power, but
they have power, but they're not the FBI.
Right.
And this is the highest ranking official, cabinet official to die since JFK. Mm-hmm. So you would want to put some pretty high profile people on that if there's any suspicion at all. And I can say, just based on the facts, that the shell casing was found 150 yards away. He had no mud on his feet, from the body.
Yeah.
There's suspicion. There's enough just from that evidence alone to say that there's enough doubt to say that this was not a suicide, it was an assassination with a long rifle.
It was up. Yeah, I believe that they also found like all these extra footsteps and stuff like in the mud. Yeah.
So, but to me, I just, like that would be like warrant an FBI investigation, like get him on it, get a guy in place, get him on it. His family deserves it. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that would make him so interesting is there's some stuff about him that's not so squeaky clean as well, right? That surround him. So you want to talk about that at all, like the Switzerland and the money and all that? Or?
I'll start reading with this. So Vince Foster was an attorney with a professional reputation for integrity, and in the early 1980s started cooperating with Israeli intelligence. But Foster began playing a dangerous game in the mid-80s when he became a link between Systematics and the NSA. And that's a whole other case with a whole other...
Systematics was a technology software or something.
So this was the main government agency that was looking for fronts to market the stolen Inslaw software. So the Inslaw software case is, if you want to get into some other very crazy stuff, Castellano was his name. There was this investigative reporter who was about to blow this huge story about Inslaw. They created this software called Promise that was basically, so this is what was happening. The CIA or NSA, there's no way to really prove which one was which, basically took this software, which was originally made for prosecutors. So like this databasing software. And but it was super ahead of its time. So I think, this was in like the 80s or something like that. And basically, they would type in, Rosie, and then
Rosie O'Donnell.
And let's see where we can find in all these other databases. So basically, it was super ahead of its time. The data gathering backbone, this software that was super powerful, was big data, putting all these connections together. So obviously, other governments wanted it.
Yeah,
it was a basic this software package. They'd sell it to anybody. So this is what I think Robbie Castellano is his name. He discovered that there was they were putting all this. Our government was selling these other copies of this Inslaw software, Promise, to other foreign governments. I think the Royal Mounted Police used it.
Canada.
All these big they have a really big intelligence service.
Yeah.
All these different agencies with a back door that would give us access to all their information. Which, I mean, hey man, I don't want to say it. I don't think this is the first. It isn't the last time that we have ever done stuff like that. You look at Huawei, what's going on right now. Intelligence services do that stuff.
Yeah. Ethically, we're not talking about ethics right now. We're talking about protection.
Yeah. So that's, but anyways, so that's some aside background on the Inslaw thing. So if you look up Promise software, the Inslaw software, that's a whole other rabbit hole you can go down. It's really fascinating. So anyway, Vince Foster had a Swiss bank account and was making one-day trips to Switzerland every 6 to 8 months. So he's this link between the NSA, the software company, blah, 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 blah. He was the bagman for the Arkansas political machine, Clinton, Clinton machine. Less than 5 months into the Bill's first term on July 1st, 1993, Foster purchased a round-trip ticket to Switzerland. This prompted surveillance by the CIA, blah, 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 all these other ones. And he became alarmed that he was under investigation when he phoned ahead of time and discovered that the Swiss bank account had been drained of the $2.73 million deposited there. The account had been drained by ex-CIA hacker, blah, 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 who placed the fund in escrow for the CIA. Foster hired James Hamilton, a high-powered Washington lawyer specializing in white-collar crime who'd handled cases before congressional committees. A weekend meeting was held with some other guy and both their wives and the estate of some other guy who later headed the Clinton Legal Defense Fund. So now you're getting these lawyers involved. There's money being, missing.
Almost $3 million.
Almost $3 million by this sketchy guy that's doing all these intermediaries. Clinton step in. He's, Iran-Contra. There's other government, checks and balances. So it says George Stephanopoulos was also said to be at the meeting. So about $300,000 was deposited into the account of Vince's wife shortly before the meeting. The money was paid evidently as hush money and for legal fees. The hope apparently was that Foster would not break under stress and name names of others in the Clinton administration. So he was doing sketchy stuff, and basically they want to make sure that he doesn't, he's the only one that's going to go down and going to name names. And so, they killed him. They suicided him.
So he possibly had some really deep information that that early on would have taken the Clintons down.
Yep.
And obviously $3 million that was, when you think about how much they've made over the years,
they're worth hundreds of millions.
That was chump change now.
Yeah.
They probably pay that to off somebody.
Yeah. 300,000. Yeah.
$2.73 million.
Oh, they don't even have to pay that much anymore. Come on, let's be honest.
Well, if you don't do it, you'll be next.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of the money, this was an interesting case that just happened. I'm sorry, this is kind of a stream of consciousness show where we're just
You're good, man.
Talking about this stuff. Hillary Clinton's brother recently died. I think either yesterday or Saturday.
Yeah.
And
or Friday maybe.
He was like he had some job. He wasn't a rodeo clown. Who was that other guy that I was reading about?
He was in Haiti. He had something to do with their Haiti gold mine or something.
Yeah, so he owned about half of all the gold mines in Haiti. And he was basically he was a Clinton, whatever her surname would have been. Yeah.
His name was Rodham.
So he was her brother. He just recently died. I think it's too early to say stuff, but you're just talking about the money that, the Clinton Foundation does a lot of work in Haiti.
Yeah.
And her brother happens to sit on this board of people. I can't remember how I saw it summed up. He has basically no experience of anything having to do with any kind of business. And he sits on the board for these people making untold amounts of money, literally raping, in many ways, the country of Haiti, stealing all their gold, go back to Pizzagate, stealing the kids, a lot of weird deaths surrounding
kidnapping, all that.
Yeah. So how about I will go through and I'll read some of I think those are two of the big ones. I'll go ahead and read through just brief synopses of some of the other people that have died.
Yeah.
Because we don't have time to go through
all
the other ones. But if you hear any of these that sound really interesting, Go look into him, pause it or something like that. So Ron Brown, he was a Secretary of Commerce and a former DNC chairman. He was reported to have died by impact in an airplane. The pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole on the top of his skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. So that was a really weird thing. Dies in a plane crash. Actually, unlike Obama's plane crash, everyone died on the plane, if I remember correctly, except for like maybe one or two. There's like 80 people that died.
Yeah.
But he was shot in the head. Pathologist came in. They're like, nothing to see here.
Right.
They shut down all these investigations, blah, 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 blah. Mary Mahoney. She was a former White House intern. She was murdered July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just as she was about to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House. So she was shot in a drive-by shooting.
And listen, for our listeners, those of you that don't live near DC, Georgetown is not unsafe.
It is a very, very expensive.
Yes.
Very hoity-toity.
Yeah. The people that live up there are important. It's Northwest DC.
Yeah.
It's right across the river. You got Georgetown University right there. I mean, it is you don't get drive-bys. In fact, I've never heard of a drive-by in Georgetown.
Yeah.
I mean,
you might.
Extremely rare.
Yeah. Like the typical crime that happens there is, some guys from probably Southeast DC or something like that, or out of town, go and they mug a drunk college student.
Right. Or you get into a fight in a bar.
Yeah. But it's really
right.
Upper class.
Yeah.
Very
upper
nice.
class.
It's a very nice place.
Yeah. Yeah. The police are around too because of the people that live there and that are there. They're important. Yeah. So to be a drive-by shooting in a Starbucks in Georgetown, it's.
And again, she was one of the people that was about to go forward with sexual harassment.
It's always the timing and the suspects of the weirdness surrounding the death.
And we haven't even talked. Maybe we can find another list or share that. There was a lot of women who were murdered, who had to do with covering up, basically, Bill Clinton's sexual indiscretions. Shall we say? Mm-hmm. People that
wait, Bill Clinton? He's not. He's that guy. He never would do anything weird.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he had that one slip up with that one intern,
and it wasn't sex.
Right.
Because what is sex?
I did not have sex with that woman.
Yeah. So there's a lot of women that were intimidated that name Hillary Clinton, Juanita Broderick.
Mm-hmm. Dude, if you want to follow someone on Twitter, follow.
She goes hard.
She's fun to follow on Twitter.
Yeah. So I'll just briefly read through.
Yeah, and I got a couple too. I can.
All right. I was gonna say, Victor Razor and Montgomery Razor. There were major players in the Clinton fundraising organization. Died in a private plane crash, July 1992. Paul Tully, DNC political director, found dead in a hotel room in Little Rock, September 92. Described by Clinton as a dear friend and trusted advisor. Ed Wiley, Clinton fundraiser, found dead in November 93, deep in the woods of Virginia with a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. He died the same day his wife, Kathleen Wiley, claimed Bill Clinton groped her in the Oval Office of the White House. And Wiley was involved in several Clinton fundraising events. Do you want to go over with Jerry Parks?
I actually was going to talk about Susan Coleman.
Okay, go ahead.
So Susan Coleman was reportedly had an affair with Bill Clinton when he was the Attorney General in Arkansas, and reportedly she died of a gunshot wound to the back of her head, and it was ruled a suicide. And here's the kicker: she was pregnant.
She was.
So double homicide.
Yep.
So, like, this is what, how can you rule it a suicide when it was in the back of the head?
Yeah.
And then can I do one more?
Yeah.
Kathy Ferguson. I don't know if this is you got me on the women, so I started looking on this list of names for women.
Okay, go ahead.
Ex-wife of well, that sounded weird. You got me on the women. No, the ex-wife of Arkansas trooper Danny Ferguson died May of 1994. So he died, and then she's the ex-wife of him. Was found dead in her living room with a gunshot wound to her head, and it was ruled a suicide, even though there were several packed suitcases as if she was going to go somewhere. Danny Ferguson was the co-defendant along with Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones lawsuit, and Kathy Ferguson was a possible corroborating witness for Paula Jones, which was one of the women that
Claimed that Bill Clinton raped her.
Yeah. So people, gosh, man.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be... Let's just go through these because they're pretty short.
Yeah.
Jerry Parks, head of Clinton's Goober National security team in Little Rock, gunned down in his car at a deserted intersection outside Little Rock. Parks' son said his father was building a dossier on Clinton. He allegedly threatened to reveal this information. After he died, the files were mysteriously removed from his house. James Bunch died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a black book of people containing names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. I wonder who might have been in that book. James Wilson was found dead May 1993 from an apparent hanging suicide. He was reported to have ties to Whitewater. Bill Shelton, Arkansas state trooper and fiance of Kathy Ferguson. That's the one you read already.
Yeah.
Critical of the suicide ruling of his fiancée, he was found dead in June 1994 of a gunshot wound, also ruled as suicide at the gravesite of his fiancée. Gandy Baugh, attorney for Clinton fan friend. Wow, I kept trying to think about that. Dan Lasseter died by jumping out of a window of a tall building in January 1994. His client was a convicted drug distributor. The other thing, if you start noticing about this stuff, they're all within like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
The early 90s, and that's kind of why we brought up at the beginning, all these people start dying. There's a lot of detectives that have been killed in the last year, the last week. Suicide, all these that have, if you go into digging.
Every time you get close,
they start digging into them.
Something gets revealed.
People start dying.
Yeah, people die.
Florence Martin, accountant, subcontractor for the CIA, related to the Barry Seal Mena Airport drug smuggling case, died of 3 gunshot wounds. So probably not a suicide. That's a whole other thing.
3 gunshot wounds, suicide.
Yeah, the Barry Seal Mena Airport drug smuggling case. They also, because there's a whole other list of people who were killed to cover up. Basically, they're doing this drug running out of the this airport in Arkansas, Little Rock.
Yeah.
That had ties back to the Clintons.
Well, I heard
as president.
Arkansas was like the leading cocaine distributing state in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It was like Little Cabana or what are they call Little Cuba or something like that.
Little Cuba, yeah. Well, here, I'll read about these 2 boys that had to do with that since this was brought up. Kevin Ives and Don Henry. They're known as the Boys on the Track case. Reports say that the boys may have stumbled upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation. It's a controversial case where initial report of death was due to falling asleep on the railroad track because they smoked too much pot. That's what was the thing. So they smoked a bunch of pot. They laid down on the train tracks.
Took a little nap.
Yeah. Later reports claim that...
Wait, did you say they smoked pot?
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to bring some levity to it.
Yeah. So later reports claim the 2 boys had been killed before they were placed on the tracks.
Oh.
Many linked to the case died before their testimony could come to a grand jury. How about I will read, there's 7 people who had information on this case.
Wow.
Keith Coney died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck, July 1988. Keith McCaskill, he was stabbed 113 times. Gregory Collins died from a gunshot wound. Jeff Rose was shot, mutilated, and found burned in a trash dump.
Gosh.
James Milan found decapitated. The coroner ruled his death due to natural causes.
What? Decapitated.
He was decapitated. The coroner...
That's a natural cause. Sometimes your head just falls off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we get the term, don't lose your head, man.
Right, exactly. And they actually found his head like a week after in a trash can, like
Nice.
a couple yards from where his house. Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Jordan Kettleson was found shot to death in the front seat of his pickup truck. Richard Winters was a suspect in the deaths. He was killed in a set-up robbery. So those are just 7 people, along with the 2 boys that were killed. 7 people because they had information were about to testify, and the 2 boys that were killed because
to bring down a drug ring
to bring down the drug ring.
that the Clintons were part of.
Yeah, so there's a couple more. Stay with me here. Paula Grober, Clinton's speech interpreter for the death from 1978 until her death in 1992. She died in a 1-car accident.
Does that mean like it hit a tree or something?
Yeah, something like that. Or her brakes went out. Yeah, so. Danny Casolaro, that's the guy I was talking about, the Inslaw.
Yeah.
Investigative reporter investigating the Mena Airport and Arkansas Developmental Finance Authority. He slit his wrists apparently in an apparent suicide in the middle of his investigation. He was the one that was talking about the Inslaw case. He was the one that was going to break it open. That actually happened out in West Virginia. And he was one of the guys, they have him on the radio literally a day or 2 before he's calling in. Because I can't remember. He worked for like a big newspaper.
Yeah.
Like the Washington Times, like something like that. And he was like, on air, they're coming after me. I'm staying in a hotel. I've been moving hotels every night, basically. I am not going to commit suicide. Couple days.
Slits his wrist a couple
slits
days
his
later.
wrist in the middle of his investigation.
It's almost like they're mocking, like, I'm not going to commit suicide. So then they actually say, oh, we're going to actually slit your wrists.
Yeah.
Make it look like you commit suicide. We're going to mock you.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Paul Wiltshire, attorney investigating corruption at the Mena Airport with Casolaro. And the 1980 October surprise was found dead on a toilet in June 1993 in his in a Washington, D.C. apartment. He had delivered a report to Janet Reno 3 weeks before his death. John Parnell Walker, Whitewater investigator for Resolution Trust Corporation, jumped to his death from his Arlington, Virginia apartment balcony August 15th, 1993. It was investigating the Morgan Guarantee scandal. So as we keep reading all these and why these people were killed, they're not all the same scandals.
Right. It's like literally it's a drug or it's a rape, alleged rape, or now it's
all this
some kind of finance thing going on. Yeah.
Barbara Wise, Commerce Department staffer, worked closely with Ron Brown and John Huang. Cause of death unknown. Died November 29, 1996. Her bruised, nude body was found locked in her office at the Department of Commerce. Charles Messner, Assistant Secretary of Commerce who gave John Huang special security clearance, died shortly thereafter in a small plane crash. Dr. Stanley Hurd, Chairman of the National Chiropractic Healthcare Advisory Committee, died with his attorney Steve Dixon in a small plane crash. Dr. Hurd, in addition to serving on Clinton's advisory council, personally treated Clinton's mother, stepfather, and brother.
What's suspicious about that one, I wonder? I mean, Dixon was in there, his attorney. So maybe they talked and he knew information, I guess.
Well, yeah, the health, anyone close, if he was associated with them, yeah. Or he was collateral damage, happened to be in the plane, they're taking out someone else.
Right, yeah.
Because they were
somebody
the only
else.
2 people that died. Barry Seal was a drug running pilot out of Mena, Arkansas.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Actually, I think this is the one they made a movie about. I'm not sure whether his death was no accident, they say. Johnny Lawhorn Jr., mechanic, found a check made out to Clinton in the trunk of a car left in his repair shop. He died when his car hit a utility pole. So again, he just finds a check made out to Clinton.
Yeah, but it's who it's from and how much it is.
And he gets killed.
Wow.
Stanley Huggins, suicide, investigated Madison Guarantee. His report was never released. Herschel Friday, attorney and Clinton fundraiser, died March 1st, 1994 when his plane exploded.
Wow. The list goes on and on, man.
Yep.
It's
so
just crazy.
I think I appreciate everyone personally standing in with us as we read through this, but I mean, And that's not even, if you did the count, that's not 61.
Right. No.
So there's more out there. There's ones we didn't talk about. But
the thing that's interesting to me about this is that just all the strangeness surrounding it. Like it's not like, for instance, you said it's not just one particular scandal. It's literally surrounding like 6, 7, 8, possibly 10 different things. And every one of those things, whether it was a rape allegation or whether it was a finance scandal, they have 5, 6, 7 people around it that get involved. And so it seems like anybody that's around these things when these things happen, that the MO is to just be knocked off.
Yeah.
And that just to me is so insane that they would keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like, and that they haven't been caught. I mean, when you have a plane crash and a gunshot wound in the head and you rule it a suicide, like, what do you think? They just shot he went up in the plane, shot himself in the head, and then...
Well, that wasn't ruled a suicide.
Right. Right. You know what I'm saying? No, it wasn't ruled a suicide. You're right. But I mean, like, so, like, just the strangeness surrounding it all. Like, shot in the back of the head, but it's ruled a suicide. Or natural death when it was a decapitation.
Right.
You know? Or a man on public... on the air saying, I'm not suicidal, I will not kill myself, and then just 2 days later he's found with his wrist slit, you know, and he was about to blow open a major, you know, case against the Clintons.
Yeah.
And you know, and then fast forward to even when when Hillary Clinton was working for the State Department.
Is that
another episode or something?
No, I was gonna say one of the things to bring it back to Benghazi when you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's why, like, all these people, I kept hearing all this stuff with, no, Hillary, you know, it was her friend. Ambassador Chris Stevens was her friend.
Oh.
Why, you know,
she let him die.
Obviously,
she needed him die, but let everyone else die.
She doesn't care about, I mean, that's when you realize that there's so many deaths.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. She doesn't care. I mean, I fully believe that she's such an evil person.
Yeah.
She's a terrible person. I find it hard to even find any redeeming qualities about her as a person.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. But
wow, dude.
And
this is crazy.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's kind of funny though. Like, you know, what's even crazier, I remember there was some guy that died. He was like an FBI agent. This was about a year ago. And he had some dirt on the Clintons. And he died in an apparent suicide. There's all these things that keep happening.
We have to figure out a way to get dirt on the Clintons without letting anyone else know you have dirt on the Clintons.
You can't. It's impossible. But
you can't tell anybody until you just... Yeah.
Well, that's what Seth Rich did.
He tried, yeah.
He tried, and they still killed him.
They found out.
So,
they're sneaky sneaks, those murderers.
Bill Clinton is definitely a serial rapist.
Yeah.
And both of them are... have
murderers.
Blood
on their hands.
Blood on their hands. There's a good book. It's called I think the Clintons' Blood Money. Oh, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of good books about all this stuff. There's a lot of resources. This is just warming up. But,
you just Google on YouTube, Google or go to YouTube and search Clinton body count,
and just
there's literally hundreds of videos that are available.
There's so much.
Some are actually done in like robot voices, like they have like a computer read it because they don't want to have their voice to be traced to it at all. But
I was gonna say, if we haven't got a fatwa issued on us yet that we're aware of, I don't know. Maybe we're okay with this one. But
well, I mean, I don't have any dirt on them at all.
Yeah, neither do I. I just think you're a terrible person. And
wait, me or her?
No, her. Yeah. If they're listening to this, but
right.
I was gonna say, just imagine. I was gonna say to kind of bring it back to politics, and you know, we had talked about in the end times thing about as corny and as much as I hate hearing it because it's all old boomers saying all stuff, God, Emperor Trump, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think we really dodged a bullet with Hillary. By
I agree.
I think we dodged a lot of bullets.
Yeah, I agree.
Unlike a lot of people that got in her way.
Yeah, I agree.
But just imagine, you know, thinking back to this is the person that was running for president. These are the things that she and he have done.
Yeah.
That
they wanted to run the country. And really, I don't think they wanted to run the country. What they wanted to do was prostitute our country to make money. They were going to sell secrets and just basically pad their pocket and become I think their goal is to become billionaires.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
like what do they need that they don't have right now?
there's nothing.
Right.
So,
Yeah. All right, man.
that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. This has been fun.
And remember, I am not suicidal. I will not kill myself.
That's right. Neither am I. Public record right now.
Public record.
We are not suicidal.
We are
We're
not
happy.
suicidal.
We love our lives. We love our families. We love our friends.
We will never kill ourselves.
And we love our listeners.
Yes, we do.
Even though 75% of them went away somehow for some reason. So, hey man, this has been a great episode.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back into secret societies. One of the reasons we did this tonight was because there's so much into that series. It's very deep. It's very convoluted, and we're trying to just peel it like an onion and get the facts out and do it. So we'll get back into the secret societies here in the next week or two, and we also have some more guests coming up. So those of you that are listening, the 5 of you that that are listening right now, you're in for a treat.
You just gave away our listener count. We used to have 25.
We used to have 25. Now we have 5.
5.
Yeah. No. It's thank God it's a little more than that. But hey, do us a favor, share us with your friends. Do it old school. Grab their phone out of their hand, open their app, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you have been,
just tell them you don't even have to listen to it. Just subscribe.
Just subscribe. And I will make this promise to you. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that I hate when I listen to a podcast is when they're like, they get into the episode and they only give you partial podcast because they want you to go to the Patreon and pay money so you can hear the rest of the episode or the rest. Yeah. I hate that. And I'm going to make a promise right now. We're going to do everything we can on this podcast to not be like that. We're going to give you everything, we have. Now, if we come up with extra stuff that we want to share that maybe people want to be a part of, maybe we'll do a Patreon or something like that someday. But right now, we're giving you everything we got.
Yeah.
We're for free. It costs you nothing. We don't sell. We don't, we're open to advertisers, but man, let me just tell you, that's not our plan, right? That's not our plan. So I just wanted to go on the record to say that.
Yeah.
But we love you guys. Thanks for sticking out with us, and we'll catch you next time.
I want to say,
yes.
Hey, Big Beef that sued Oprah.
Oh.
I'll whore myself. You can sponsor me.
Yeah,
I'll
Big
take
Beef.
beef money.
Yeah, we'll take beef. You don't have to give us money. Just send us beef, and we'll eat it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time on All Out War. Thank you for listening. Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to know more, you can visit us on the web at alloutwar.us, or you can find us on Twitter at alloutwarcast. Hey, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.